The Lafayette Parish Correctional Center, LPCC, faces a growing crisis that demands urgent action. Running LPCC is a real juggling act for those operating the jail. It means being tasked with keeping inmates away from the public, ensuring their safety, protecting the staff, and more. Add the critical situation of the jail's capacity, and it becomes even more complex. LPCC has 739 beds, but the number of beds doesn't accurately determine the jail's capacity. Real capacity is calculated by the individual classification of each inmate. With legal mandates and safety concerns determining how inmates must be separated, a large number of beds are rendered unusable. Let's break down the problem. The jail is divided into 5 floors, each with 3 wings. All wings have 2 pods, with 26 beds in each pod. One day, a female offender is taken into custody at LPCC. Legal mandates and safety concerns require gender separation by sight and sound. This situation demands that the female offender be isolated in a pod with 26 beds, meaning that 25 beds cannot be used for any other male inmates at this time. Additionally, the pod next door cannot be used for male inmates either, creating a total of 51 unusable beds. Bunk capacity has gone down from 739 beds to 688 beds, and that's just after 1 inmate classification. This graphic represents the LPCC facility. For clarity of illustration and to help explain just how complicated this problem is, we're using a scaled model of 136 beds rather than LPCC's actual 739-bed capacity. All proportions, data percentages, and operational challenges accurately reflect the real facility's conditions. So, it looks like we have room to spare, right? Wrong. Here's where all those classifications we mentioned earlier come into play. Legal mandates, risk management, and safety concerns require gender separation by sight and sound, separation of violent and non-violent inmates, isolation of 17-year-olds from adults because LPCC wasn't designed for juveniles, accommodations for physically disabled inmates, inmates requiring medical quarantine, and proper management of increasing mental health cases. The following factors also impact capacity. The loss of preset bonds forces many of those arrested on Friday to be in jail until at least Monday. Criminal sophistication, which means separating repeat inmates who may manipulate the system. Special needs that require isolating predatory inmates from vulnerable populations. Administrative segregation, which means temporarily isolating inmates for safety violations or pending disciplinary hearings. Disciplinary detention, which is segregation that results from disciplinary proceedings. And protective custody, which means safeguarding inmates from known threats or self-harm. In our example, LPCC now has 35% availability. But what happens if 2 more violent offenders are detained? That's the magnitude of our problem. Compounding these challenges, some inmates await trial for extended periods, even for minor offenses, due to bail issues, legal delays, and more. Managing the jail requires constant adjustments due to 16 to 24 new arrivals daily, each needing proper placement based on classification. This creates an environment that demands careful balance and oversight. This issue extends beyond Lafayette Parish. Louisiana has the nation's highest rate of pretrial detainees. That's double the national average, and has the highest rate of state prisoners in parish jails. Short-term solutions implemented and recommended by the Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office include ceasing federal inmate contract, expediting transfer of sentenced inmates to state facilities, opening an annex for qualified inmates, expanding use of electronic monitoring for eligible house arrest cases, budgeting for overflow to other parishes, and working with all justice system partners to increase efficiency and implement diversionary programs for the least violent inmates. Despite these temporary measures, a surge in violent crime has escalated risks to both the jail and the community. A sustainable, long-term solution is critical. Public awareness and cooperation among elected officials are essential to address this issue effectively. This effort demands collaboration across all aspects of the criminal justice system and informed community engagement. For the safety of our community, it's crucial to address the systemic challenges facing our correctional facilities, beginning with LPCC. Understanding the complexity of these issues gives you the power to contribute to positive change. It's time to end the juggling act in jail management. Let's work together to shape a more effective Lafayette Parish Correctional Center and ultimately a safer community for all. The Lafayette Parish Correctional Center, LPCC, is experiencing a growing crisis with its population. Several factors are contributing to this crisis. Beds rendered unusable by law due to individual inmate classification, maintenance issues, full Louisiana state prisons, and more. It's a juggling act to manage the jail and keep the public and staff safe, while the critical situation of the jail's capacity is causing massive complications, and soon will cause more if solutions aren't implemented. So, how do you manage a jail's population? In the words of the National Institute of Corrections, the sheriff or jail administrator has little control over who goes into jail, how long they stay there, or how they get out. The sheriff, as the keeper of the jail, is responsible for preserving peace and order within the jail. On the other hand, the governing authority of each parish, in this case Lafayette Parish, has the responsibility of providing a good and sufficient jail and has a further responsibility for the maintenance and upkeep of the jail. As law enforcement makes arrests, the jail fills up. It's recommended that a jail operates at 80 to 85% capacity so as to have room for crime surges and other emergency events. But how do you keep a jail from filling up when you have a limited number of beds? Convictions. Upon sentencing, offenders are usually transferred out of the jail and to a state prison. As we already mentioned, Louisiana state prisons are full, and an additional 16,000 inmates are being housed in parish jails. This is taking space away from the parish jail. To make matters worse, the Louisiana Department of Corrections, DOC, has had difficulty finding space for DOC inmates within the parish jail system because many parish jails are full. Bail bonds can help with jail management. They allow defendants to be released on their own recognizance while they're awaiting trial. Louisiana once had preset bonds for certain offenses, speeding up this process. They've since been eliminated. Now, many defendants must be held in the parish jail until the courts set a bond. Mental institutions can hold the criminally insane, freeing up space in the jail. In the 1990s, many of Louisiana's mental institutions began to close. There is currently only one state facility in Louisiana capable of holding the criminally insane, and it only has space for 100 pretrial offenders. Diversionary programs are an extremely effective tool for managing a jail's population. However, funding for these programs is limited. Programs include GPS monitoring for a low daily cost of $12, cheaper than housing inmates or sending them to another parish facility. Drug rehabilitation programs, which satisfies the obligation to provide good and sufficient housing for offenders, as well as alleviates pressure on the judiciary branch, and others. As a last resort, sending overflow to other parish jails if space is available can open up beds as the jail reaches capacity. Entering into plea agreements with offenders can also alleviate pressure from a crowded jail. Diversionary programs, like the ones we listed earlier, promote this. All available options should be used to manage a jail's population, but Lafayette Parish government isn't taking full advantage of them. Violent offender population in the Lafayette Parish Jail has tripled in the last 10 years. It's a major contributor to the unusable beds at LPCC. As the jail fills to its operational capacity, where does the violent population go? Public safety is threatened more and more each day by the failures identified within the criminal justice system. LPSO needs the help of those with the authority to approve these jail management programs and systematic solutions, to get the LPCC population crisis under control.